At the beginning of November, David Beasley, head of the World Food Program, described very clearly to BBC the mass death facing the population of Afghanistan.
It is as bad as you possibly can imagine. In fact, we're now looking at the worst humanitarian crisis on earth. 95% of the people don't have enough food, and now we're looking at 23 million people marching towards starvation. Out of that, almost 9 million are knocking on famine's door. The winter months are coming. We're coming out of a drought. The next 6 months are going to be catastrophic. It is going to be hell on earth.
Now, the main cause of this mass starvation is the deliberate economic collapse and paralysis of the banking system caused by the US freezing over $9.5 billion in Afghan assets, which are primarily in the hands of the Federal Reserve. This means that the United States is holding hostage the money that belongs to the people of Afghanistan and refuses to give it up, and as a result, people are literally starving to death. Although the US has made some token exemptions to its sanctions regime to allow some humanitarian aid into the nation, this is a mere facade, hiding its murderous policy of inducing famine. In response to a November 17th letter by the Taliban to the US Congress, urging it to release the frozen money, US Special Representative for Afghanistan Thomas West refused this demand by insisting that legitimacy and support must be earned by actions that address terrorism, establish an inclusive government, and respect the rights of minorities, women, and girls, including equal access to education and employment. In other words, in order to guarantee the rights of minorities, women, and girls, we gotta starve them to death first. Now, why is the Anglo-American establishment insisting on continuing this murderous sanctions policy in Afghanistan in the name of human rights? One immediate reason is to express its vengeance against the Taliban for defeating it in Afghanistan, but the larger reason is to maintain the legitimacy of its sanctions policy worldwide, such as against Syria and Yemen, which is part of its war confrontation policy directed against Russia and China, aimed at breaking the will of these nations to defend their national sovereignty in the face of the unipolar, genocidal, quote, rules-based order, and directed at destroying the Belt and Road Initiative. Destroying the Afghan banking system and the resulting death of millions serves as a warning then to Russia and China of what the Anglo-American imperial war faction can do to them if they continue to assert their independence. But such a policy will lead to global war. In order to defeat this global genocidal geopolitical policy, Schiller Institute President Helga Zeppler-Rouche has called for nations to join forces to build a modern health system in every nation to deal with the current and future pandemics, which means building water, electrical, agriculture, and transportation infrastructure. And that we start by doing this first in the case of the worst humanitarian crisis on earth in Afghanistan. She has called this Operation Ibn Sina, in honor of the great Islamic philosopher and universal genius of the 11th century, who was also considered the universal medical authority for both the Islamic world and Europe until the 17th and 18th centuries. If the US collaborates with Russia, China, Pakistan, India, and all the Central Asian republics, which want to develop the Afghan economy to stabilize the region and link it to the ongoing development projects of the Belt and Road, we can both end the ongoing genocide in Afghanistan and begin to replace the current drive for global war with a policy of peace through development. The first step to carrying out this new, necessary paradigm is to demand the Biden administration end the economic sanctions on Afghanistan and unfreeze the $9.5 billion in Afghanistan's central bank reserves so that we get our knee off the neck of the Afghan people.